The air at Cousin's Beach smelled of salt and memory. The waves whispered the same stories they always did, about first love, heartbreak, and the in-between. Belly stood on the old wooden pier, the hem of her sundress fluttering in the wind. Behind her, Jeremiah's footsteps creaked softly against the boards. She didn't turn around. She didn't have to. She knew his rhythm, carefree, golden, full of the kind of warmth that melted the edges of her doubts. "You still come here when you can't sleep?" "Only when I want to remember," she said. For a moment, neither of them spoke. The sunset painted his hair in firelight and set her heart racing. He took one step closer, his breath brushing against her shoulder. "What do you want to remember?" "You." It was simple, raw, and exactly the thing Jeremiah had been waiting to hear. The silence broke, the world seemed to hush, and his hand found hers. Slowly, he turned her toward him. Their eyes met, and the years between them vanished. The pier swayed under the tide, and then their lips touched, soft at first, like testing the memory of a dream. The first kiss of the summer. The kind of kiss that doesn't ask permission, because it already belongs to both people. When they pulled apart, Belly's eyes shimmered with something deeper than guilt or confusion. It was the quiet acceptance that maybe love can live twice, even after it breaks once. Jeremiah smiled that messy, perfect grin that always made her laugh, and she leaned in again. This time, the kiss was longer, his hands tangled gently in her hair, her fingers pressed against his chest, feeling his heart racing to match hers. The sea breeze wrapped around them, carrying the scent of salt and sunscreen, and the sound of waves became the soundtrack to a summer reborn. When they finally broke apart, she whispered. We can't." "Then why does it feel like we already are?" And with that, he kissed her again, a kiss that erased the line between right and wrong, past and present. The sun dipped beneath the horizon, leaving them in twilight, two silhouettes standing on the edge of something they couldn't name but didn't want to end. The pier creaked once more, like the universe itself sighing in approval. Summer had begun, again. The next few days blurred into sunlit chaos, beach fires, laughter, sand stuck to skin. But every time Belly caught Jeremiah's gaze across a crowded porch or a late-night bonfire, the world tilted a little. They tried to act normal. They tried not to remember the pier. But love has a way of making itself known, in glances, in silence, in the heartbeat between two half-kept promises. It was late one evening when the storm rolled in, the kind that Cousin's Beach was famous for. The air grew heavy, the sky darkened, and the rain came down in sharp, sudden sheets. Everyone ran for cover, except them. Belly and Jeremiah were caught halfway between the beach and the house, drenched and laughing, their hair dripping, their shoes sinking in the wet sand. We should run." "Run where?" "We're already here." He said it with that grin, the one that could turn a storm into something beautiful. She pushed a strand of wet hair from her eyes, and he watched her, his expression softening, the laughter fading into something quieter. The rain poured harder, blurring the line between the sea and the sky. And then, without thinking, or maybe because they had been thinking about it for days, Jeremiah stepped closer. Their lips met under the downpour. It wasn't gentle this time, it was fierce, alive, urgent. The kind of kiss that tasted like rainwater and unspoken confessions. Belly's hand slid up his soaked shirt, clutching his shoulders as if to keep herself from falling. Jeremiah's touch was both desperate and tender, his fingers tracing the outline of her jaw before resting at the back of her neck. When they finally broke apart, their foreheads rested together, breathless and trembling. "Why does it feel like I've been waiting forever for this?" "Because maybe you have," she whispered. Thunder cracked in the distance, and Jeremiah smiled through the raindrops. "Then let's stop waiting." He kissed her again, slower this time, deeper. Around them, the world disappeared. The rain softened to a whisper, and even the ocean seemed to hold its breath. But behind that kiss was something else, a shadow neither of them wanted to name. Because love wasn't simple. Not here. Not with Conrad still somewhere in the spaces between them. When they finally walked back toward the house, dripping and silent, Belly could feel it, the weight of everything unspoken pressing against her chest. Jeremiah reached for her hand, and she let him hold it, just for a moment. Because in that fleeting second, under the storm's fading heartbeat, they weren't choosing the past or the future. They were just choosing each other, even if only for tonight. Morning came slowly, painted in pale gold. The house was quiet, too quiet, and for the first time, Belly felt the ache of everything that had been said and everything that hadn't. The night's rain had washed the world clean, but inside her chest, the storm still lingered. She found Jeremiah on the porch, coffee in hand, the ocean stretching endless before him. His hair was still damp, curling at the ends. He turned when he heard her footsteps, his smile small, cautious. "Couldn't sleep?" she asked. "Didn't want to," he said. "Didn't want to wake up and realize last night was just a dream." Her heart twisted. It would have been easier if it had been a dream. But it wasn't. It was real, the rain, the laughter, the kisses that tasted like forever and goodbye at once. She sat beside him, close enough to feel the warmth of his arm against hers. The silence between them wasn't empty, it was full, of longing, of questions, of love that didn't quite fit the shape of their lives anymore. She said softly. "You know I care about you. But not the way you care about him." The words landed like stones in water, quiet but deep. Belly didn't answer. She didn't have to. The truth was written in her eyes, and Jeremiah, brave as always, met it head-on. He set his cup down and looked at her, really looked at her, the way he had since they were kids, since before heartbreak and summer triangles and all the messy in-betweens. "Then let me kiss you one last time," he said. "Just so I remember this summer for what it was, not what it could have been." Her breath caught, but she nodded. Because how could she deny him that? Jeremiah leaned in, slower this time, careful, reverent. His hand brushed her cheek, his thumb tracing a tear she hadn't realized had fallen. Their lips met, soft and lingering, a kiss without promises, only memories. It wasn't the kind of kiss that began a story. It was the one that closed it, with grace, with sorrow, with gratitude. When they pulled away, the ocean shimmered under the morning sun. "You'll always be my summer, Bells," he said quietly. She smiled through her tears. "And you'll always be my warmth when everything else feels cold." He stood, gave her one last look, and walked toward the shore, barefoot, sunlight catching the edges of his golden hair. Belly watched until he disappeared beyond the dunes. The wind shifted, carrying the scent of salt and memory. She closed her eyes, feeling the ghost of his kiss still on her lips. Another summer had ended. Another chapter closed. But somewhere, deep inside her heart, the pier, the rain, and Jeremiah's laughter would live on, forever part of the story she could never quite let go.